Good evening, welcome back. So this evening we are going to get started on this tribute project. So we're going to talk about this again right before we go down to get this refinished, discuss colors and all that kind of stuff. But in order to get it down there, we got to get this thing stripped apart. So we're going to go ahead and get it all taken apart and then see what we got to work with there. So I bought this, I don't know, a few months ago as a refin project or a relic project. It could still be refinned and relicked. I don't know. We're going to do a whole show on it. I got a bunch of comments and stuff like that of suggestions and whatnot to do to it. And we're going to write all those down on a whiteboard. And we're going to discuss them, talk about them, and we're probably going to end up going with something that you guys suggested. We're not going to just do whatever we want. We're going to take your guys' suggestions, put them together, decide what we want to do with it, and roll. So when we do that, we're going to take the cabinets for Lay's Loft down there, the ones that I'm recovering. They sell the custom hand-wired amplifiers. So when I take those back, hopefully I'll pick up the Silver Burst. That's one that's been down there for quite a while now. And that was a Silver Burst Studio Deluxe. So I had the bound fretboard and the trapezoid inlays instead of the dots. You know, basically had a standard neck with the silk screen logo on the headstock. I don't want to start mixing them up yet. So anyhow, get this thing all stripped apart. We'll do another video before we leave. And hopefully we'll be able to pick up that Silver Burst, drop off them amp cabinets, and like I said, they have a factory down there. So they have their own brand, the Lay's guitar. And like I said, they do a lot of finish work for Hofner and what was the other one? Shoot, I can't even think of it right off the top. Oh, Nags. So Nags is really high quality, like Gibson, PRS. I mean, they're really nice guitars and they're expensive. And that's why I haven't bought one yet, because if I break open my wallet, I always want to buy a Gibson. As much as I like other guitars, you know, like Duesenberg and Gretsch and Fender, Nags, PRS, I even like a lot of those. But every time I got to open my wallet, I always end up buying a Gibson. Guess I'm a little biased just when it comes to spending my money on them, but I mean, there's a lot of guitars out there that are a lot nicer than some Gibsons, and they're definitely in those companies I just mentioned. But I don't know, just something about Gibsons. I really like them. The Les Paul has always been my favorite model. Really starting to grow on the hollow bodies, or semi-hollow, I should say, like the 330. 345, and that's a 345 BB King, but it's more like 355 because it has a stereo and mono input jack on it, Veritone thing. So anyways, really started getting into the semi-hollows. My goal is one day to get a 295. Those are really nice. I want to get a gold one. And I'd probably take a reissued one just because I know it's nice and I don't have nothing wrong with it, but some of the vintage ones look really good as well. Yeah, FedEx, I got a package coming. I don't know what that is. I'll have to look. Hopefully it's more guitar stuff, right? So yeah, when we take these down though, we're going to film the factory where they're going to refinish it. Now, Lay's Loft, they've been there since the 60s. And it's an old brick building, and has 3 stories. We've got the basement, and they used to have everything down there. If you look at my previous videos when we routed the 3rd pickup in the Silver Burst, that was in the basement at Lay's Loft. But then the first floor, when you walk in, that's like the countertop, and in the back it's all the shop where after they do all their finish work and stuff in the very back, then they reassemble them and all that stuff. They got benches out, and it's pretty cool in there. And then when you go upstairs, that's the loft. that's where they just got room after room of guitar stuff. One big room, Les Paul, Nags, Fender, you name it, Gretsch, all hanging on the wall. 2 acoustic rooms, and then the next room to the right has guitars on 1.5 walls, and then there's another huge wall of amps, and you go in a back room, there's more guitars hanging, more racks of amps. It's a really cool place. You guys got to check that out. They are on Reverb, and Instagram is Stevie's Guitar. But yeah, that's a really cool place. I love going down there. My dad and I, we used to go down there all the time. But I started working for a buddy of mine because he said he needed help. So I don't have the time that I used to. So unfortunately, I don't make it down there much because they're closed on the weekends. And usually by the time I get off work, they've already closed. Or I definitely wouldn't make it down there and wouldn't want to go all dirty and in my work clothes. So anyhow, we are going to make it down there. So after this video here, I don't want to strip 2 guitars down in one video because it get too long, but I'm going to do another video. We're going to strip the 2017 Gibson Les Paul Gold Top apart. Now, that one has all its pickups and everything in it. It's a playable guitar. So we're going to tear that one apart next because it is getting a refin too, but we already know that one's going to be all gold. Well, it's going to stay gold. Let's put it that way. We don't know what combination we're going to do yet. Definitely going to put a stinger on it. I think those look really good on the back of it, just like the Zakk Wylde one. This one here, because it has the maple neck, when they sand it down, it'll be lighter like this. And on the gold top as well. But yeah, I don't know if I want to just do a stinger on it, or I've seen some of the custom shops where the stinger comes into a point and it runs a black line all the way down, or you know, if it was gold, you know, do that all in gold but leave the neck. I don't know. Long story short is we're going to talk about that in a video right before we go down there, and this one's going to be painted a color that you guys decide, because that's the only colors we're going to be writing down that we're comment on. I think right now so far we got like a really super light green, we got yellows, we got blues. I mean, like I said, we're going to get all that wrote down on the whiteboard. Pops is going to come over and we're going to talk about it. That's nice. Look at that. It's got vintage wiring on it, pushback. That's good, because if you guys watch me, you know all I like is the vintage cloth pushback wire or the vintage braided pushback wire. I try not to do any guitars with plastic wiring in them, but there's going to be an exception. I do got 3 sets of these Seymour Duncans, all black, black with zebra, and then cream with zebra sitting there. And then I do have these other Seymour Duncans here too, which all those have plastic wiring on it. So those guitars, I'm thinking about doing something really cool with whatever I put them in. Guy that's following me on Instagram, he hand builds pickups and sustainers and stuff like that, and it's plastic wiring. So I might get some sustainers and stuff like that to put in the body cavity, and so I can start using up those pickups and go with modern wiring and stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. I just myself, I prefer the vintage style wiring in it. And then when I refin this, I think I'm going to have them fill the top screw hole for the tuners, and up here fill this hole in, so when they paint it, it's nice and smooth, and just leave that one. And I may go with a set of Grover styles on this one. All this stuff right here, these 2 pickups, these came out of my 1960 reissue. These 4 pots, these Gibsons, all see right here, came out of a 2005 1960 reissue Les Paul Honeyburst. So the pickups, the pots, the 3-way switch, and this does have plastic wiring, so I've been debating whether or not to change that out or just use a different switch. And this is just, it has the braided pushback on it, but they put the shrink tube over it to keep it from grounding on and stuff. And then I have everything else that came off the 1960 as well, if I can get this open. So here is the bridge with the nylon guides in it, and then, you know, I got the tailpiece, and obviously the tuners. And this is why I'd have them fill in that top hole, because of the single screw on the bottom. So that's one of the things I've been bouncing around, and we'll talk about pickup configuration and all that kind of stuff. There's the thumb bleeders. Forgot to put them back in. Anyhow, that's one of my thoughts. The other thought is on the either this one or the gold top, because I was thinking about doing that on both guitars. But I do have a set of the Clusen Revolutions in gold, so I thought, well, I had the 50th anniversary Gibson custom shop that was all gold. I mean, everything was gold. It had the reason I got rid of it, it had the gold headstock plate on it. And I took it down to Lay's, and I wanted to have them put a black headstock on it like a normal custom. And Dan didn't want to do it. He said it would ruin it. So I ended up just selling that guitar. But everything on it was gold. All the hardware, everything. I think that's a little overkill. Even the pickguard was like mirror gold. I was gonna, if I could get them to do the black headstock, I was gonna put a black pickguard and pickup rings on it and just kind of tone the gold down a little bit, but I never did get to do that. So I was thinking maybe on the 2017 gold top, go with gold hardware on it. I'm not sold on it. The only reason I thought about it is because I do have a lot of the gold studs that are OEM Gibson and stuff, and I do have the tuners. I'd have to buy a bridge and a tailpiece, but I got a good chunk of the gold. I think I even have a gold input jack plate. But I don't know, I'm just a lot of things bouncing around in my head. Don't know really what to do, and like I said, when it comes to this one, you guys are going to pick the color, and we're going to go with the suggestions in the comments on these videos on what to do for this this burst here. And like I said, I do want to leave the neck unpainted if we're going to go with a solid color on it. Maybe we can figure out how to do like a double stinger or something. But I want to see that neck like the Zach Wald one and keep a satin finish at least on the neck, and then high gloss the stinger and the body and obviously the top. Again, just lots of things to consider and think about. And this one, I think they had some issues with the tuners because they wrapped cloth around all these inserts. So we'll have to make sure that the holes aren't needing a different style tuner too before we get rolling on this, because I don't want to have to do anything like that after it's been refinished. These could have been changed. They don't look like the tuners that came on it. Do I have another one here? That one's got 2 bands. That one's 2 bands. Yeah, they're all... I think those are an aftermarket one that they stuck on it just to sell it and keep strings on it. No big deal. I'm going to change those anyhow. I don't know if this screwdriver is going to be big enough to take out the strap locks. Yep, I guess it is. I still have to pull all these inserts out of the body, and I'm going to make a tool to do that. Basically, it'll sit over top of it like a cup, and I'm going to thread the top of it so it can go down and use the same size screw in there and just lift it out. After I make the tool, we'll do a quick video of pulling all these inserts out. And then there's another guy that wants to know how the neck would turn out if you use a really fine Scotch-Brite pad. So I got some gray ones, and they're really soft. They're meant for like cleaning stuff without leaving deep scratches. So we're going to take the Scotch-Brite pad And we're going to do the back of this neck just to see if it makes it feel any better or smoother, because he said his is too glossy and sticky. And even though this one's a satin, it's actually kind of sticky too. But yeah, we're going to take a Scotch-Brite pad to that and just see what happens, because it's got to be refinished anyhow. I may even do some of the sanding work on it prior to taking it down there, but definitely going to have a new nut stuff put in it, and it's just going to get completely refurbished, a brand new. And you guys are going to help me pick the color. So one more piece to take off, and then this video is over. And this is the truss rod cover. Then I'll have to get all this stuff bagged up and labeled so I don't mix it up. But obviously those tuners are probably definitely not Gibson. Truss rod nut looks good. Still plenty of meat left on that truss rod before it starts poking through. So we'll get all the frets leveled, polished. Everything will be done on this one when we get it back. So stay tuned for the next video where we sit down and talk about your guys' suggestions and color options, and we'll make a decision and we'll take this one to lathe. Till then, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for that video where we go down to the factory where these are going to be refinished. And again, check out the loft at Lathes in Akron, Ohio. Check them out online. They got some really cool stuff there. Again, look for them on Reverb, because sometimes their two sites don't stay balanced with each other because they move a lot of stuff there. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. Appreciate you watching.